Hi, ArcfieldWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Tuesday morning, March 22nd. Well, spring began with some severe weather across the state of Texas. Numerous tornadoes occurred late yesterday and last night across central and eastern Texas. That severe weather threat today shifts a little bit to the east, encompassing states like Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. Some of the classic ingredients involved with colder, drier air to the west and very warm, humid air to the east across the deep south, and that's quite typical this time of the year whenever you have severe weather as a threat. We have strong systems in the upper part of the atmosphere as well. We'll kind of focus in on several of those ingredients over the next few minutes. Let's start off today with NOAA's weather warning map across the nation and take a look at what's going on right here across the deep south from eastern Texas all the way into Alabama. First of all, the brown represents high wind watches and warnings. It could have wind gusts out ahead of the frontal system to 50 miles per hour or so, places like Huntsville, Alabama, all across Mississippi. Meanwhile, a lot of activity still occurring right now across far eastern Texas into the far western part of Louisiana. The yellow here represents tornado watches, and there's some very strong thunderstorms right now that are of concern. And the green represents areas of flash flood watches. Indeed, in addition to the severe weather threat, you have the warning of some very heavy rainfall causing some flash flooding in some of this part of the nation later on today into tonight. Again, really, right now, the severe weather threat, heavy rain threat extends from eastern Texas and later today into tonight all the way into Alabama and northward into the Tennessee Valley. Well, here's the probability outlook from NOAA's Storm Prediction Center. They're based in Norman, Oklahoma. Again, biggest threat today, most likely across Louisiana, Mississippi, into western Alabama. Yesterday, the severe weather was focused in on central and eastern Texas. Now, some strong thunderstorms right in this region right here, and the whole thing will slide to the east, slowly to the east, later on today into tonight. And again, this is the area under the gun from the Tennessee Valley down to Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. Well, let's take a look at some of the ingredients involved by using last night's zero-Z run of the GFS, the operational version of the GFS. First of all, we're starting off with the vorticity maximum. These are areas of spin in the upper part of the atmosphere, and they lead to strong upward motion, usually down on the eastern side of the upper level feature here. And this is as we begin the day here on Tuesday in a large trough out across the southwestern states all the way into Texas and New Mexico. And here's a lot of energy in the upper part of the atmosphere. And notice it slides slowly to the east over the next 6 to 12 hours or so. Yesterday's focus of attention was on central and eastern Texas. Now it shifts Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama as the upper air feature slides off to the east. And it really sits and spins in the big picture. It's a slow-moving system here, and therefore the severe weather threat will continue parts of the deep south on Wednesday as well. Well, another way to take a look at the upper level features, the upper level waves of energy, is by looking at the 500 millibar height anomalies. And here you go, you have a strong upper level system situated right over the central part of the nation today, and that helps to generate upward motion in this region, like the east and the southeastern flank of that upper level low. That again is situated right now over the state of Kansas as we begin the day on Tuesday. And watch as we move through the next 6 to 12 hours. It edges slowly to the east. Again, it's a slow-moving system here. This is all the way into tomorrow morning, and today's threat will shift a little bit to the east, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. And with this system still there tomorrow morning, continuation of some severe weather threat from the deep south into the southeastern part of the nation. Will go a little bit farther in time, and a very slow mover. This is all the way into Thursday afternoon, into Friday, and it helps to contribute to a pretty significant rain event in the mid-Atlantic region from late tomorrow, Wednesday, into early Friday morning. Again, all associated with this slow-moving upper-level system. Well, with severe weather in the deep south this time of the year, you can almost bet that there's cold, dry air to the west and warm, humid air to the east. You know, the United States is certainly the country with the most tornadoes, and a lot of it is because of the geography. We have kind of dry air that is generated over the southwestern states, and very warm and humid air associated with an influx from the Gulf of Mexico, and that sets up that clash zone, especially in the deep south from places like Texas all the way into Georgia and Florida. And here we go as we begin the day. Right now we're looking at 850 millimole temperature anomalies. You have warm and humid air in Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and you have cold, much colder than normal air out across central and western Texas. This is the battle zone right in here, and as we move forward in time over the next 6 to 12 hours, that battle zone area right here, this is the clash zone, does shift to the east. And here's that cold frontal system, at least at the 850 millibar level. Again, you can envision southerly flow pushing in humid air from the Gulf of Mexico, very warm air, and a northwesterly flow back here, and your classic setup for a strong cold frontal system, and associated with it, severe weather. Let's move forward a little bit in time, and you can see it continues off to the east. This is now tomorrow morning's forecast map, and with that upper level feature hanging around, spinning around, you'll have a continuation of severe weather possibility on Wednesday, a little bit farther to the east compared to today across the southeastern states. But here is that colder than normal air mass, and again, rain event is headed up into the mid-Atlantic region from later Wednesday into Thursday, and really it'll last all the way into early Friday. This is the Friday morning forecast map, and that kind of clash zone is right in here. So expect a rain threat places like D.C., Philadelphia, New York City from later tomorrow, the afternoon hours of Wednesday, all the way into early morning hours of Friday, at which time that frontal system finally swings on through and reaches the western part of the Atlantic Ocean later in the day on Friday. Well, one additional ingredient involved here is oftentimes this is in play whenever you have severe weather down across the deep south. It's a low-level jet. We're looking at the winds at the 850 millibar level here, a few thousand feet off the ground, and here we are as we begin the day on Tuesday. We have a low-level jet involved here, and that certainly is playing a role. And there are very strong winds in the upper part of the atmosphere as well, the 250 millibar level. And here we go forward here. It intensifies as we get into the midday hours and extends all the way up into the Tennessee Valley. And again, the threat for severe weather today exists from Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, up into the Tennessee Valley, encompassing the states of Tennessee and Arkansas. And still this morning, certainly a threat continues across the eastern part of Texas. And we move out into the late night hours, early morning hours, a little bit weaker of a low-level jet as we begin the day on Wednesday, but still have to watch out for some strong to severe thunderstorms tomorrow across the southeastern part of the nation. Well, let's wrap up with the surface forecast maps from last night's operational run of the GFS 0Z run. Cold enough for snow to the north and west in the cold sector of this low pressure area that is right now centered over Kansas. All the blue here represents snow falling across the heartland, and here is the representation of a line of showers and embedded strong to severe thunderstorms as we begin the day here on Tuesday, with again some very strong thunderstorms right now across eastern Texas. They'll slowly slide to the east over the next several hours into Louisiana, then Mississippi, then reaching Alabama later today into tonight. Meanwhile, the low pressure area, the surface low pressure area, pushes up to the north and east. Snow on the cold side of that storm system up across northern Minnesota and upper Wisconsin later on tonight. And then this rain area moves into the eastern states on Wednesday, likely to see some rain by tomorrow afternoon in D.C., Philadelphia, New York City, sometime developing in the afternoon hours. And that threat, with the slow movement of that upper level feature that we saw a couple minutes ago, the threat for rain will continue through the day on Thursday, and a secondary low forms off the coastline right here. You can see kind of a reflection of it right at this time. Tomorrow morning, low pressure starting to form right here, and the initial wave of low pressure goes from Kansas right now all the way into the Great Lakes region, kind of dies out, and this one ends up taking over. And with that secondary low, that extends the period of rainfall right here in the Mid-Atlantic region, in the Northeast U.S., all the way into early Friday morning. Low pressure at this time situated right in this region right here. Cold enough for some snow up across the very northern part of New England by the time we get into Friday morning. Finally, pulls off the New England coastline by Friday morning, and here is some decent snow possible for much of the state of Maine, especially northern part of Maine, and perhaps even the northern part of Vermont and New Hampshire. And on its heels, we'll have to watch for a cold blast. This is a cold shot of air right here pouring into the Midwest, the Great Lakes region by the time we get into Saturday morning, and it's on its way to the Mid-Atlantic region. Looks like this cold blast certainly reaches the Mid-Atlantic region this weekend, early part of the weekend, into New England by later Saturday, maybe some downstream from the Great Lakes, some snow shower activity. Watch out for that on Saturday into Saturday night. And by the time we get to Sunday, cold air will be fully entrenched into the northeastern part of the nation, and this certainly raises the possibility of below freezing temperatures even in the urban areas of D.C., Philadelphia, New York City come Sunday night, early Monday time frame. Be careful for any outdoor sensitive plants. Again, we could reach below freezing northeastern part of the nation, mid-Atlantic region, probably maybe Saturday night, but even more likely along the I-95 corridor region, especially the suburbs, Sunday night going into early Monday. So a lot going on in the world of weather, with a severe weather threat today extending from eastern Texas across Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama, and northward into the Tennessee Valley. That's it for now. For ArcfieldWeather.com, I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.